Good morning, guys. I have something I want to share with you because I'm just like in love with it. Yesterday, I went to lunch with Stephanie and Leanne. They usually get on here every morning. I see their stuff. Oh, and Leanne's on too. We went to Chick-fil-A with our, I almost said with our girls, but Huntley was the only girl, with our kiddos. And she gave me this bracelet, you guys, and I'm seriously obsessed with it. So look at it. It's a mustard seed, like in this little, I don't even know what you would call it, like a little dome thing. She has one too, so I'm pretty much obsessed with it. So it's a mustard seed, and if you're like, I'm sorry, what? Like it's a bracelet with a mustard seed. It's a seed of faith. So in Matthew 17:20, Jesus said, "Because you have so little faith, truly I tell you, if you have faith like a grain of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." So I was pretty much like a blubbering mess. I almost cried while we were sitting there. It's so perfect. Thank you again, Steph. So I want to start off again this morning. You guys, I don't know if I'm like a really deep thinker. You guys obviously know this about me, which is funny because I'm like through and through red and have zero green in me whatsoever. But I overthink. I know that about myself, and not only overthink, but I analyze and really, I'm just a deep thinker when it comes to things. And so yesterday I was nose deep in this same book that I've been telling you guys about, You're the Girl for the Job. And it's a Kindle book, so I can just like whip it up on my phone anytime. And I haven't done that. Here's what's funny. Again, deep thinker, I know, and some of you might be rolling your eyes, but I always like to share these things with you. So for me, I never ever do a Kindle book ever. I always do like a hard copy or an Audible book, right? But this one was $1.99 for the Kindle version, and I'm cheap, so I was like, all right, I'll do this one instead. And Huntley hasn't been sleeping, and I've told you this. Oh my gosh, Lisa and Stephanie, your guys's robes match. It's so cute. I need a link for that because I need to get one when I get back to Florida. Okay, sorry, I'm getting off topic. So she hasn't been sleeping, right? But what she has been doing is allowing me to lay with her so that she will fall asleep. And when I say this, I truly mean it. She has never let me have my phone when I am rocking her to sleep. Back in the day when I was nursing her, when like if I had my phone in my hand, it was like game over. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing on your phone? And like I said, recently I've been able to lay down with her, read my book, and she'll fall asleep. And she may not stay asleep, but I've been able to lay in there for about 15, 20 minutes with her and have her go to sleep. And so the weirdest thing is that self-development for me has always been on the back burner. However, it's always also been very important to me, right? It's definitely, I make it a priority, but on my busiest days, I'll be the first to admit that like it doesn't get done for whatever reason, right? And so I can honestly say that for the last 9 days of this year that I have done my self-development, and honestly, I've done more of it each day than I ever have before. And I don't know if God's like, I'm just going to like have Huntley have like some sleeping issues for a little bit because you need to like learn and get in the habit of reading your book. And I'm able to do that while she's sleeping. And so one thing that I've been trying to find I've been trying to find the good in everything, because y'all know if you have kids and they don't sleep, listen, Stephanie and I were talking about this yesterday. Leanne's got a perfect little boy who literally sleeps 12 hours a night. And I'm like, can we swap just for like 3 days? Can we swap? No, but Stephanie knows what I'm talking about. Her boys are going through the same thing right now, and it's 2 and not 1. So I should not be complaining. But I'm really, really trying to find the good in everything. And so I was laying down with Brian and I said all those things last night. I was like, it's kind of weird that she's like not sleeping and I'm still able to do all my self-development and like all this stuff. I'm like, maybe God's trying to teach me something. And Brian's like, babe, you are just such a deep thinker. Like you need meanings for everything. And I didn't realize that about myself. And in this book, she talks about two, what's it called? tests, okay? Kind of like their personality tests, kind of like the red, green, yellow, blue tests, but they're different. So the first one is Fivefold Ministry. And I did that one last night because she encourages you to do them. And I was curious to see which one I was. And all of them were like deep thinker questions. So it got me thinking again. But my results were apostle. And if you guys haven't done this, it's kind of fun to just see what you are. I'm going to put it in the comments, Fivefold test. So I'm an apostle. You are a dream awakener in the kingdom. Your contribution to the ministry of God is to awaken people to their God-designed potential. You are instrumental in people discovering who they really are and walking alongside them to get there. You have a unique gifting that is essential to the ministry of God. I don't know why it made me cry. I was laying there with Brian. I was reading it to him and I was like, man, I just, again, I keep going back to this, but Stephanie and Leanne, we went to Chick-fil-A yesterday and they were like, we're loving your Wake Up with Rachelle. It's like, we're just loving them. And I was like shocked. I was like, oh, okay, good. Cause I just blabber. Like, I don't like, there's no method to the madness or anything. And they're like, no, you share what's on your heart and we love it. And that, again, I don't know if God just knew that I just really needed some love right then or what, but I really appreciated that, guys. And then the other one is it, I'm going to say it wrong. Let me look here. The Enneagram test. And I did that one last night too. And that was kind of cool because I've heard a bunch of people talking about that, but I didn't know what it was. So that's a good one for you guys to do too. I'll put it in here. Anyways, okay, so I was reading, this is one thing I want to share from you guys too. I was reading in that book because I just feel like I literally haven't been able to set it down. And not only just because of this book, but because I feel like I have so much more growth to do, which last year was like such a huge year for growth for me. But Brian, oh, okay, sorry, I'm all over the place, you guys, like always. But while we were sitting at lunch yesterday, Brian is listening to Zooms with Joel and John Maxwell. Like his favorite thing right now is just Zooms with them. And I think it's so cool because he usually will listen to books and things, but he never really gets into our business part of it, but he really loves listening to that It Works personal development page. So if you guys are not in the It Works personal development page on Facebook, it's a group, go add yourself to it. It's so good. And he loves it. So he was sending me these little things. Outgrow your past wins to get into new victories. Your bank account will never exceed your personal development. How's that one taste? That one's like, okay, I need to read more, right? Like I need to have more stuff. Like more, not more stuff, but you guys know what I'm saying. More self-development. And then identify the time wasters in your life and get rid of them. I thought he sent me so much more for some reason. Oh, right here. This is the one I wanted to share. When you grow yourself, your team grows themselves. Your ability to grow yourself is going to determine the ability to grow the people around you. I love that so much because I think so much of us, we question being a leader. We question, am I doing everything right? Am I leadership quality? What am I doing wrong that's not leading my team correctly? Or how can I get them to want to do the things that I'm doing or to want to take off? And I think that is a perfect example of how about you just grow yourself? And when you grow yourself, your team is going to grow themselves. And the ones that don't, that's okay. They might do it later on, or they might never want to do it, or they might come back to you. It was kind of weird. I feel like there was like some magic stuff happening at our lunch yesterday, ladies. But when I got home, I had so much to catch up on. It was literally like, I had so much anxiety because I was like, oh my gosh, like all of a sudden, all the follow-ups that I've done for like the last 7 weeks, people are like responding to me. I had so many messages. It was crazy. But I was so grateful because they were all messages that they were finally ready. Like every single one of them was like, I'm ready to order. I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to join your team. I'm ready to come back. I'm ready to do this, all of it. And it was so overwhelming, but it was also so incredible. And it has been just me literally praying every single day for over everybody that is on my potentials list, but also everybody that is watching my journey, everybody that has been watching my journey, everybody that has questions but is too afraid to come forward. I've been praying for those people. Another thing that I just started praying for last night, and I don't know why I just started praying for it. I was a little bit ashamed when I heard Ashley Sinclair on our conference Zoom last night. She was like, I've been praying for all of you. I've been praying for everybody that's going to go to conference. And I was like, why is that not in my prayers? Like, why is that something that I haven't been praying for? Because here's the thing, we spend a lot of money to go to conference, right? We spend a lot of money. Some of us have to leave our babies behind. Some of us have to leave our husbands, and we're scared. Maybe we've never flown before. Maybe this was a lot of flipping money. And so I took some time last night to just really pray over the people that are figuring it out to get there. I also had somebody on this team who I just wasn't sure if she was going to make it. You guys, I was not sure, and it was not looking good. And she messaged me last night and said she's going, and she bought her ticket because of that Zoom. And it like, I told all the girls that did it with me, and I was like, yes, thank goodness. Stephanie, what one am I? 7. I just saw your on the Enneagram. I'm a 7. I believe I had like 3 that I was like 90%, but it was like 7, 8, and 1. I want to say I forgot to screenshot it. So I've got to go back and double check it. It's probably in my email somewhere. That's on the Enneagram, guys, in case you're like, I'm sorry, what is she talking about? But that's kind of fun to see. It's just, it gives you another perspective of like a different, personality test than just being labeled red. It kind of shows you something different about yourself. You're like, oh, good. I'm an apostle in the eyes of God and not just like this red leader that that attacks everybody. Okay, so I want to read this really quickly from the book, and then I'll go over it in a second. We think our responsibility is to tell everyone how they should interact with Jesus. But what is most life-changing is when we interact with Jesus in front of others and let them see the difference he makes in our lives. These people who are already listening to you, backstory, she's talking about who listens to you. Okay, and she's like, before you say that you don't have anybody that listens to you, think of people like your roommate, your husband, your kids, your, people at church, your best friends, people in line at Starbucks. Like, she's literally like, everybody listens to you. You just don't know who your audience is or who you're talking to, right? But there are people that are listening to you. And so that's a little backstory. She says, these people who are already listening to you, there may be an occasion where the Holy Spirit asks you to go directly to them with some form of admonishment. You guys, I'm terrible at pronouncing words. Correction or teaching. But it's more likely that what will really impact them the most is seeing him transform you and hearing you acknowledge that it's Christ doing the work. And so this is why my mind is blown when you guys tell me that you love these, because I'm like, well, I'm just like sharing my life. I don't even know it. Every single morning, you guys, I share this with you, not to like make you feel bad for me. None of that. I don't want sympathy by any means. I love doing these. Okay. I love doing them every morning, but I will not lie to you. Every single morning when I get off, I'm like, oh my God, did anybody get anything out of that? Like, did I touch anybody? Did anybody get anything out of that? And I immediately pray and pray and pray and pray that somebody did get something out of it, because literally I wake up, I pray over this message and ask God to speak through me and whoever needs to hear this. Then I make my coffee and I come in here and I like black out. Like, I don't even know what I'm saying to you guys, but it helps so much. Yesterday I love when you guys reach out. Seriously, don't ever think that you're bothering me. I had somebody yesterday, and she's on here, but I'm not going to share who it was. I'm just going to share the situation because it literally touched my heart so much. But she said that her husband had overheard my Wake Up with Rachelle yesterday, and that he decided that he wanted to go to church with her for the first time in a very, very long time. And she was like, thank you so much for this. Like, thank you for doing these so that happened. And that was huge. You guys, I looked at Brian and I was just like, I was just like, that blows my mind. Like that me doing these, is impacting others in that sort of way. I'm just getting on here so you guys can wake up, be refreshed, hear about Jesus, and then be up for the day and do your things and do the things that you want to do and be inspired. And those are just bonuses. Those are just big, big, huge bonuses. And Brian was like, that's why you do them. So it made me super happy. I had to share. Okay, let me read from the Self-Reliant Entrepreneur. A life imagined is what it's called. If one advances confidently in the direction of one's dreams and endeavors to live the life which they have imagined, they will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. They will put some things behind, will pass an invisible boundary. New, universal, and more liberal laws will begin to establish themselves around and within them, or the old laws be expanded and interpreted in their favor in a more liberal sense, and they will live with the license of a higher order of beings. Henry David, 1854. You are 100% unique, just like everyone else. There is no other human being exactly like you. The fact of science alone should be enough to allow us to choose whatever path we like rather than follow in the steps of others, or choose a life determined by those who would judge right and wrong for us. Are you living your life based on past prescriptions, or are you asking, what do I want? What am I afraid of? What must I change? Or are you comparing yourself to others? To live more fully, you stop reinforcing judgments on yourself made by others, and you must stop imposing your judgment. These are the mental exercises that compound daily to rob us of our essential 100% unique nature. Here's the thing, there's nothing to win. There's only your essential nature. And when you discover the awesome power of that, when you start to feel that in your heart, you'll discover the key to this entire game. All day today, take note of the things that are unique and essential to you and only you. Can you describe something about yourself that is completely unique? Okay, I love this because it's basically, when we think of us being unique, we think of kind of negative qualities, right? At least that's what I do. Like when I think of me being a unique person, I don't think of it as like anything positive, right? And that's not in a bad way. It's just reality of like, well, I'm not like her, right? He mentions that where you're like comparing yourself. Well, I'm unique in this way. One thing in my family, one unique thing that I think I have is I literally can be louder than anybody you've ever heard. Like I have a different octave. And my family, they literally call me the loud one. Like I don't even have a name. My dad, I walk into the house and my dad's like, the loud one's here. Like that's my name. Okay. So I have such a gift. I am unique that I am literally the loudest person in my family. I'm yelling at right this second. But that's okay because sometimes, you just need to be unique in that way. No, but it's funny because what you think is unique about yourself is usually like that. Like it's not necessarily a bad thing that I'm loud, but it's not something that I would just be like, hi, I'm Rachelle, and my unique thing is that I'm like super loud. Like that's not like something that I would want to share with others, right? And so when you think of that today, when you're thinking of all of your unique things, I encourage you to let go of the negatives and don't think of them as negative. They might be negative to you, or you might think that, well, like I'm unique in this aspect, but don't make it negative. Make it positive because you're unique in a good way. You're unique in that way for a reason. Okay. So, I love that. That was a good one. Let me go straight into the devotional. We have about 10 minutes left. I thought I was talking over, but let me go into this devotional. So doing good is what it's called. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time, we will recap a harvest if we do not give up. We will reap, you guys. I just said recap and it's reap. You're like, what is recap a harvest? I don't know, but you were going to go with it. It says, for at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. How many of you needed to hear that in your business right now? How many of you have been planting and planting and planting and planting? I'm going to read this one more time. Let us not be weary in doing good. You're doing the things that you need to do. You are being good. You are doing good things for others. You are offering them this opportunity. You are offering them a way out of paycheck to paycheck. You are offering them a way to lose weight and help kids, feed starving children. Thank you. Couldn't find my words. Okay, so you're doing good for at the proper time. Okay, there's a proper time. We don't know the proper time, and I think that's what's so frustrating, right? That's where the faith comes in. Even if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, it's over here, then it's going to be okay, right? If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can move that mountain, but at the proper time, and only God knows when that proper time is. So we have to be patient, and we have to have faith and know that when he knows that we are ready, those things will harvest. If we do not give up, it says, if we do not give up, okay? Doing the right thing can be exhausting. Oh, we can all be good every once in a while, but making the right choices day after day, week after month, after year can wear us down, especially when the payoff awaits somewhere in the distant future. Being bad is easier than doing good. Gossip can be Gossip can be addictive. I swear, I don't know if it's the font or what. Okay, gossip can be addictive. It's hard to walk away or take a stand when we hear juicy secrets. Showing up late for work and leaving early is a lot easier than giving the extra half hour. However, each time we make the difficult choice to do the right thing, we create a ripple effect that will eventually come back to us, bringing in a hefty harvest of God's peace and joy and goodwill. Small choice by small choice, with God's help, we can create an inheritance that in the end will be worth the sacrifice. Dear Father, help me not to grow weary in doing good. I want to honor you in all I do. Amen. I love that. One of my things this year, you guys, this might be like a touchy subject, but we're going to talk about it. One of my goals this year on my dream board, everything, drop a 1 if you've ever heard of tithing. If you know what tithing is. Tithing to me and Brian has always been something that, well, Brian absolutely does not want to do. So let me explain what tithing is really quickly, just in case nobody knows what it is. It's giving your first 10%, okay, to the church, giving specifically to your church, giving your first 10%. And the reason why, and I'm not like, Shelby would be so much better at explaining exactly why and like the verses and all of the things in the Bible, because if I'm being real, one other thing I was going to tell you guys about that book that I'm reading, it literally talks in Bible terms, like last night she said chill. Like she's like, it's chill. Basically what he was talking about in the Bible is something about it's chill. Like that, like she takes biblical verses and turns them into like our words. Okay. Now that is my kind of book. You put me in front of a Bible and it is not that I don't absolutely love the word. It is that I have never been able to understand it the way that a pastor can explain it to me. Okay. I know that about myself. That's just, it is what it is. So I'm not going to quote any verses about this. I'm just going to explain it to you in the way that I understand it. So giving your first 10% of your paychecks, of your income, not just like, you know, we have a paycheck for me, we have a paycheck for Brian, we make money on our rental. Okay. So like those are all incomes. So 10% of all of that, your fast starts, 10% of it goes to God. Okay. It goes to your church. And Brian is very, very, he's so giving, you guys. He's like totally cool with tithing if it can go to a good cause instead of a church. Okay. He grew up thinking that, that like churches only wanted your money. Okay. He grew up in a family where they, I'm trying not to be too loud, where they didn't go to church because they wanted your money. Okay. That was the reason why. And so that just kind of instilled in him. until I had the chance, and maybe you're feeling the same way, until I had the chance to explain to him that it actually doesn't really have too much to do with the church. And Shelby, correct me in the chats if I'm wrong, but what it has to do with is you trusting God. What it has to do with is you giving, that is the one thing, that is the only thing that God says, test me in this. Test me. Because our money is not ours, you guys. Our money is not ours. I'm willing to bet you that if you promoted and you got a bonus and you might think to yourself like, my team did that, we did that. No, I'm sorry to like burst your little bubble, but God did that. Okay. And God allows us to have the finances that we do. And so when we give him back that 10%, we are trusting him with our money. And there has been some crazy, there has been some crazy stories is my point of this, of like when people will tithe and they'll have exactly that amount come back to them. One of my favorites ever was our pastor was talking to us about, oh my gosh, Shelby, I think it was at your church. It wasn't even our pastor. I don't even know. It was like a guest pastor at your church, I'm pretty sure. And he was talking about how he knew a pastor. He was actually talking about himself, so it was kind of cool. But he was like, I knew a pastor that would give, he would have $100 bill in his pocket every Sunday. I'm probably going to butcher this, but there'll be a point for you guys. And he would, like, God would tell him who he was going to give that to. Like God would tell him, like he would feel prompted to give this $100 bill. And I think it was weekly that he was doing this. And for some reason, one Sunday, God prompted him to give 100 and he had 120 for, it was probably not that, but let's just go with it. So he had like 120 in his pocket, and God was like, he took out the 100 and he saw this woman, you know, packing up her car after church, and he was going to go over there and say, you know, God just told me that I was going to give this to you. And again, this is like, it'll come back to tithing, I promise. So he gives it to her, and what he's thinking in his head right before he gives it to her is he hears God say, give her that other 20. Okay. And he's kind of wrestling with it because he's like, well, no, like you tell me to give my hundreds. You don't tell me to give my 120s. Like, this is not like, no, like, okay, God. Okay. So he gives her 120. And when he does that, I can't remember. I'm pretty positive what it is. And again, Shelves, correct me if I'm wrong. You guys, I'm so terrible at telling stories. And then I like sweat and panic because I don't want to get it wrong for you guys. But this woman had tithed for the first time. And she started to weep when he handed her this $120, because that was exactly what she just put in the pot in church. And so she trusted God. She trusted that she started to tithe, and she trusted God, and she gave that 120. And so I think it was actually 100. Now I'm remembering. It was 100 that she put in the offering, and God prompted her to put her other 20. I don't know if she made tips or whatever, but God had prompted her. And so she put the full 120. And then this pastor comes out and was like, I don't know why God's telling me to give you this. I usually do 100, but he's telling me to give you the 120. And he gave her the 120. Like, chills. This is the one thing that God tells you to test him on. Test me on it, and he will prevail every single time. And so, long story short, one of my goals this year is to tithe every single month. Is to tithe like not just tithe like, okay, I got to remember to do that, but like literally the second my paycheck or the second a fast start comes in, I am tithing. It is not mine. That first 10% has nothing to do with me. I didn't earn it. He did. So that's something for me that I am like really huge on. And it's funny because Shelby and I actually have like this, this funny thing. We were in North Carolina together. Yeah. And she was like, her and her husband were telling me all these stories about how like, when they first started tithing, like God just like started blessing them. They were getting all this money, like more money. Like he was blessing them with more money. Her husband got a raise the first time he started tithing that next month or that next year. And I think it was like 10% that whole next year that he got like a raise. And he had been tithing for, I don't know how long he said that he was tithing, but it wasn't very long. Okay. It might've even been like one time. And I was like, well, Shelby, I need to ask you something. And she laughed so hard. I was like, what if I've been tithing and my paycheck has been going down? Like, what, like, what is that about? Like, what is that about? I don't understand. And she was laughing so hard. And I'm like, that just comes down to straight up faith. Like that is He is testing me to see if I am going to continue to test him. Okay. And because I had only been doing it for a couple of months, you guys, you can't tithe one time and expect God to give it back to you. That's not how tithing works. Okay. That's not, you don't tithe to get it back. You tithe to give it to him and trust that you will be able to pay your bills, and you trust that everything is going to be okay. And so, your word is faith. That's why. Yes. And Brian is always like, you know what? God also knows that you do everything the hard way, and that everything in your entire life you want to do your way. And God is like, go for it. Do it your way, but I'm just going to chill over here until you decide that my way is the best way. And I'm like, oh yeah. So this year, my goal is to tithe every single month, and absolutely do not expect anything in return. And don't get me wrong. It wasn't like I was like, here's my 10%. No, when are you going to give me back that? Like, it wasn't like that. But there was something in the back of my mind that was like, well, I'm doing this. I thought that like he showed up in a different way. And here's the thing, you guys, it's not always in money. Okay. It could be in blessings. So it's not always that when you give that 10%, it might not be that our paycheck goes up 10%. Okay, that might not be what it is. That might be that Huntley is literally the healthiest little girl that I have ever seen. And that is a massive blessing. Okay. So there's just so many other things that I feel like God blesses you with when you trust him. And if he tells you to test him, you guys, if that is the only thing, I encourage you to really look into this. If you're curious about it, honestly, I'm going to go ahead and volunteer Shelby right now, because she is way better at giving you advice on tithing and what it actually is and means in like the Bible sense. But I just know that is what I am doing this year. And I don't know who needed to hear that. And I don't even know why I was talking about it. There was a reason, but I don't remember now. But I'm just excited to honor that. And I think for me, it's scary. Okay, we're about to move across the country. I told you guys this yesterday. We're about to move across the country, and adding up how much that U-Haul is going to be, and adding up what our first and last month's rent is going to be. We're going to rent for a little bit, because we feel like if we're moving across the country, we should probably decide, like we should probably rent for a little bit to see if that's exactly where we want to be. Right. So, anyways, like adding up all of that stuff. And then I'm not going to lie, the first thing that I thought in my head as I'm adding up all this stuff is I was like, but wait, I also have to give 10% to the church. I'm factoring that in, and I felt it as a burden for 1 second. And I was like, nope. That is already gone. That is already God's. That was never mine to begin with. And so I felt more at peace with that, knowing that that is done. And so if I'm making you, like, I know I've kept you over a couple minutes, but hear me out here. If I'm making you a little uncomfortable right now, that's because maybe God has like a little tug on your heart about this. I can't tell you how many times I've come to Shelby or Ashley or Brian and said, like, I don't understand why it needs to be the church. Like, I want to give back to the shelter that my mom is in. Like, I would rather give my 10% there, because I know that our church might not need it. But listen, this is not about your church. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's about trusting God with your money. Okay. And you can't make your own stipulations with his money, right? We have to honor that and what it is in the Bible. And so, again, Brian is somebody who does not agree with it. Like he just cannot get on board, and that's okay. That is okay. But he will eventually. And he doesn't stop me from doing it. He just doesn't understand it, but he knows that, here's the thing. He will know that when we start doing this, every single month, he will see the blessings that it pours in. And I have faith in that. And I know that he will come around to that. And so I think it's just, if you're feeling uncomfortable about it, maybe it's not something that you feel comfortable doing yet, but maybe it's time to learn about it, because it's something that I had never, ever really looked into until Shelbs, until you told me about it. I was like, what's this tithing word that you guys are using? Like, what does this mean? And that was just about a year ago. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that helped somebody. Maybe it didn't. Maybe you guys were struggling with whether you should tithe or not, or you heard it at church this week or whatever. But if you're curious about it, I can definitely answer questions, but I just know that Shelby knows a lot more about it than I do. So, okay, I've kept you guys a while, so I'm going to let you go. And I hope that you guys have an amazing day, and we will talk again tomorrow on Friday. Bye, guys.